Hello guys, my name is Shumana and today topic is atom, elements and molecules. So like you guys already learned about the atoms, elements and molecule in your GCSE. So let's just recall. Well, all of you are familiar with the periodic table. In the periodic table, we arrange 118 elements according to their increasing atomic number. Now, these elements, basically, we use the symbols instead of writing down their complete name. Like, for example, for hydrogen, okay, what we use H as a symbol. Okay, another element whose name is helium, we use H and E. Okay. Now, sometime it's confusing for the student. Like why for some element we are using two alphabet, for some of them we're using one alphabet. Well, that's not a problem. You just need to identify the element. Okay. There are some rules. The first rule is if you are using only one alphabet for a symbol, it must be a capital letter. If there are two alphabet in that symbol, so make sure that the second alphabet is small. Okay, it's like in lowercase. Okay, if in a chemical equation they write down the symbols like that N and O, it means that these are the two different elements. This is not the symbol of a single element. These are the two different elements. N is different, O is different. How I know this thing? Because both of them are capital. Now, so what is an element, like a proper definition? That contains same type of atoms. Same type of atoms. We are going to consider them as an element, like a box that contain only iron atoms. Okay, a container that contain only oxygen. Okay, another container that contain only the sodium atoms. Okay, we will consider them as an element. Now, moving on the next part, what is an atom? Okay, like it's a Greek word, it means that indivisible, means you can't break it. So, we describe the atom as the smallest part of an element, smallest part of an element. Okay, and it retain the properties of that element, smallest part, and retain the properties of that element, retain the properties. And you can recall that the atom contains the subatomic particle, electrons, protons, and neutrons. But we don't need to go into the depth of these subatomic particles right now. Now, the next thing is, what is a molecule? Well, the molecule means when there are two or more than two atoms that are chemically joined together. Okay. So the keyword is two or more than two, that are chemically joined together. You just need to focus on these two command words, chemically joined. So if there are two or more than two atoms that are chemically joined together, we will consider them as a molecule. Okay. Now, example is like hydrogen. So two hydrogen atoms that are chemically joined together, we write down the formula like as a H, and there are two hydrogen atoms, so we will write down the two in the subscript, okay, like that. Okay, this is a hydrogen molecule. Okay, now there is another example, H2O. Okay, this time you can easily find out there is two hydrogen atom. Okay, and there is one oxygen atom. We still consider it as a molecule, but this time it's a molecule of a compound. Okay, what does it mean? When two or more than two different atoms join together, we consider them as a compound. Okay, but still it exists in the form of a molecule. So the complete thing is molecule of a compound. Okay, like CO2, it exists like that, but it is a molecule of a compound. Now, if it's simply like that, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, then we are going to name them as a molecule, simple molecule. They are not compound, simple molecule. For compound, you need to be very careful. Compound mean when two or more than two different atoms chemically join together. Okay, different atoms that are chemically joined together, we will consider them as a compound. Examples I already give you. It's like CO2, like water, like NO2. These are the compounds. Okay, now the next thing, atoms are like, we know about the atoms. They are neutral because they contain same number of positive and negative particles like protons and electrons. Well, what happens if the number of positive and negative particles are unequal? Then we can divide them in two categories. One is cation, the second one is anion. Okay. Now, what is meant by cation? Cation means when a species loses the electron. Okay. Most of the time, metals they loses their electron and a positive charge appear on them. Okay, remember the key things. Metals, when they lose the electron, a positive charge appear on them and we consider them as a cation. Remember, it's not always about the metals. Sometimes the non-metal also get the positive charge, but in a compound state. I'm talking about the atoms. Now, anion. Well, most of the time, non-metals atom, they gain electron, they got a negative charge. Okay. Now the example for cation, sodium got a +1 charge, magnesium got a +2 charge. Okay, for non-metal, sulfur -2 charge, oxygen atom -2 charge, fluoride with -1 charge, chloride with -1 charge. Okay, so if an atom has unequal number of proton and electron, we consider them as an ion. Okay, and we divide the ions in two categories, cations and anion. Cations mean when they lose the electron. Okay, when the number of negative particle is less compared to the positive. And in anion, when they gain electron. Okay, how many electron they gain? You just write down the quantity of the electron they gain on the top of this symbol. Sulfur, oxygen, fluoride, chloride, these are the examples. Now let me show you the examples. Okay, so look here. Well, the first one, it's an element. Okay, example is they show you the example of copper. The name is copper. The symbol is C and U. This is an element, and reason because all the atoms are same. That's why we will consider this as an element. Now, atom. Atom mean a single atom. Okay, we know that noble gases they exist in atomic state in the nature. All other elements they exist in molecular state except the noble gases. So this is an atom of an element. Now the molecule, when two or more than two atoms chemically join together, this straight line represent a chemical bond between these two atoms. Okay, this is the way to write down the formula. Br. There are two Br and the quantity you will write it down on the right side in the subscript. Okay, this is the molecule of an element. Why we are saying that this is a molecule of an element? Because both the atoms are same. Okay, and why we will say it's a molecule? Because they are chemically joined together. So molecule of an element. Now the next one, it's a molecule of a compound. Reason. First, look, both the atoms are different. They are chemically joined together. So, what we are going to call it? Molecule, because it's HBr. And why? It's a compound because both the atoms are different. Okay. How we will write down the formula HBr? Well, why we can't write down the formula like that? Br first and H at the end? You can't. The rule is you need to write down the positive part first and negative part last in the formula. Metals and the hydrogen, they mostly carry positive charge. So you will write down them at the start and the negative part at the end. Okay, now the next one is an ion. This is not an atomic cation or anion. This is a molecular ion. Now there is a difference between a molecular ion and atomic ion. Atomic ion mean when an atom has unequal number of proton and electron, mean either it has a positive charge or negative, like for example sodium, okay, like magnesium. These are the atoms with a charge. Fluoride with a charge, okay. Molecular ion mean a molecule with a charge. For example, NH4. This is a molecule, but it has a charge. So what we are going to call it? A molecular ion. Got it? And like CO3, it's a carbonate that contain two different atoms with a charge -2. Okay. So these are the molecular ion. And the bottom one, if there is a like a simple atom, we are going to call them atomic cation or anion. Okay. The example they give you, it's a molecular ion, and it's like anion. Anion mean a molecule with a negative charge. Okay, I'm hoping that all the terminologies are clear. Now, other things, monoatomic. Now, what is meant by this word mono and atomic? Mono mean single. Okay, atomic mean atom. Okay, so atom elements that are made up of single atoms are described as monoatomic. Example is helium. They exist in the nature in like without making a molecule in atomic state. Okay, monoatomic things. Elements and compound made up of two atoms, they join together. But the difference between the compound and the simple molecule is like, let me write down this thing. Molecule of an element and molecule of a compound. Both the words are very different. You will get it like this is hydrogen. This is water. So what's the difference between both example? The difference is the first example represent two hydrogen atom that are chemically joined together. Okay. So this is a molecule of an element, means same atoms are there. Molecule of a compound mean they are chemically joined together, but both the atoms are totally different. So this is water. Okay. Now, element and compound with molecules made up of several atoms joined together. Well, we call them polyatomic. Poly mean many. Atomic mean atoms, mean when multiple atoms are connected. Okay, not two or more than two. So example is P4, S8, methane. Like they are simply molecule, but this is like a general term, monatomic, polyatomic. Okay, these are the general terms. Now, chloride, this is an atomic anion. This is a molecular ion. OH sulfate is a molecular ion. Now, look at the checkpoint question. So, what is the first question? Classify each of these symbols and formulas as atoms, molecule, or ions. So, let's highlight the things. So, they are asking us about the atoms, about the molecules, or about the ions. So, we need to look at the first element, Ne. Okay, it's a simple atom. How I know it's an atom? Because the first letter is in uppercase, the second one is the lowercase. So it's an atom. Ne. I have to look at the periodic table and I will find out this is a noble gas, neon. Okay, neon, and it's a single atom. So I will say this thing is an atom. So neon is atom. Now the second thing, CO2. Now, I need to look at the way they write down this thing. So C is capital, O is capital. Both of them are capital. So C represent carbon, O represent oxygen. So there are two different atoms and they are chemically joined together. Okay, we will consider them as a molecule. We are not going to label them as a ion. Reason, because look at the top, there is no charge. So it's just a molecule. Now the third one. It's just one alphabet, hydrogen, and there is a tiny plus sign above it. So it's an atom. Should we write down the word atom? Yeah, we can, but this positive charge is a problem for us. We can't say it's an atom, it's an ion. It's still in atomic state, but with unequal number of proton and electron. So we will write it down ion. It's an atomic ion. But in the question, they just simply say that classify as an ion, atom, or a molecule. So we will say that it's an ion. Okay, now the next one, S. It's a single alphabet, so it's an atom. Okay, 8 represent there are 8 atoms connected with each other. All the atoms are same. So what we are going to say that atom or molecule? Well, we are going to use the word molecule. Reason because atoms are connected with each other. This is the example of a molecule of an element. But in the question, they just simply told us to classify as an atom, molecule, or ion. So we will say it's a molecule. Now the last one is A and L. A is capital, L is small. Okay, so it's an atom. But if we look at the top of this element, we find out there is a charge plus 3. It means that the number of electron and proton are not same. So this is a charge species. So we are going to use the word ion for it. Okay. So that's how we are going to solve this question. Now the second question, which of these formula represent element, compound, or neither element nor compound? And they said explain your answer. So let's highlight. We need to find out which thing is element, which thing is compound. We remember the definition. Element mean contain same type of atoms. Element mean same type of atom. Okay. And compound mean different type of atoms chemically joined together. Okay. So we just need to find out which species contains same atom, which species contain different atoms. Okay. Now let's check the first one. Its first letter is B, second is R, which is in small, like lowercase. So we will say that it's a element. Okay. Should we say it's an element or should we say it's a molecule? Well, it's up to you. What you are going to say? Well, it's an element. It contains same type. Second one, H2O2. It's a compound. Why we are saying that it's a compound? The reason is very simple. First is hydrogen in capital and its oxygen, which is also in capital. That's how we recognize that there are two different atoms chemically joined together. So it's a compound. Third one, N is capital, oxygen is capital. Okay, they are chemically joined together, so it's going to be a compound. The third one, it's O3. Okay, 3 oxygen atoms that are connected with each other. It's an element. The last one, calcium oxide, CaO. C is capital, A is small. So Ca is a symbol of an element, calcium. O is a symbol of oxygen. So two different atoms chemically joined together. So we will say it's a compound. Okay, I give you the reason. So how you are going to write down the reason in the paper? You will say that, like for example, let's talk about H2O2. So hydrogen, you will say H2O2 contain hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, they both are chemically joined together. So we will consider them as a compound. Now, the next thing. So we are finished with this today topic and I'm hoping that all the terminologies are clear. So let's recall everything that we learn in this lecture. So we learn about the atom, we learn about the element, we learn about the molecule, we learn about the compound, and we learn about the ions as well. We know that there are two kinds of ions, atomic ions and molecular ions. Remember, atomic ions mean when the atom has a positive or negative charge. Molecular ion mean when a molecule has a positive or negative charge. Okay, they can be like the charge, it may be positive or negative. If positive, we call it cations. If it's negative, we call them anions. If you have any questions, you can like just write down at the bottom of this video. Thank you, guys.